Thank you, Jeff. Let's get me set up here. Share. Uh-oh. Still here. Despite what you think there. All right. So I am actually on the landing page for D&B Hoovers, which is actually a product that's presented by Mergent. So Mergent brings this into the public library space and the academic space. So you don't get this directly through Dun & Bradstreet. I'm going to flash up my piece here to show you my little cover piece so you can capture my email. I'll put this up at the end along with my phone number if you have any questions following this. What I want to share with you today is what makes this particular platform really unique. Several years ago, at a group called Avention, some data engineers got together and started looking at not how people have been searching, and you'll see it for hundreds of, well, not hundreds of years, but going back 100 years plus, the way that we looked up business information would be in a printed directory. And you'd see that information, you'd have to know some starting point, the company name, location you were looking at, what the business did, or maybe the size of the business. And those folded into becoming something on a floppy disk for those of us who remember a floppy disk, to CD-ROMs, to DVDs, to now being something that you see online. And that style of working with structured data has been how you worked with a business database. So what these engineers were looking at is how people were starting to, and already searching, and when I say people, I'm talking about the generations coming up behind us. And they would go out and open up, and I promised they wouldn't swear in front of mixed company, but they would use Google. And somebody would go in and they'd see that open frame, they'd drop in what it was they were searching for and get back a flood of results. So what these engineers said, what if we could take that same kind of search strategy and put that into a business environment? So all that you're seeing are results specific to business. So it allows users to come in and use natural language to begin a search. So that's what I want to show you today, is this conversion to be able to use unstructured data. Now you can still apply structured data. You can still use the database in a fashion that you're doing just structured searching, but this is what makes this unique, is the unstructured data search. So from the landing page, and the way that you access this is typically how you're getting a database through a library, right? You're coming in, you're going to the library's database pages, you're selecting out the link to D&B Hoovers, you're being IP authenticated and sent to this page. As you can see, it's very straightforward. I can search by build a company, find contacts, research industries, and so on. But we're going to, again, focus on looking at that unstructured data. And we call it conceptual search. So that's the first term you want to recognize in here. But before I go further, what I want to show you is how, if you were using a standard business database, you might tackle this type of search. And I'm going to put in virtual assistant. So what I'm looking for as a researcher here is Alexa and Siri and Echo, all of the different virtual assistant tools that are out there. And if you go in to do this search in a standard database, where would you start with something like that? If you use Google, you're going to get back millions of results. And we're going to see in like less than 10 minutes how we can get the information that might take 10 hours to get to if you're using kind of traditional tools. So virtual assistant in a standard database shows me 533 results. And what you'll notice right away, that there's a very common theme in here. They all have virtual assistant in the title, but nowhere near what we're looking for when we're looking for information about virtual assistant companies. I'm going to switch this back to conceptual search. And where this is really valuable, again, if people don't understand industry codes and don't know where to start, or if what they're looking for, it covers a lot of different industry codes. Think of green energy, self-driving vehicles. Think of things that the technologies are outpacing industry codes, like molten salt reactors. It just keeps people very current. And what we're looking for is all of the companies we can find, and we touch about 1 billion websites when we push that button to go, and we're looking for companies that are engaged around the conversation, in this case, virtual assistant. And our list shows us right away the type of companies we would expect. There's Apple, there's IBM, you'll see Google represented by Alphabet, Microsoft. But what sticks out here is something like Bank of America. So there's sort of an outlier on this list. And I'm going to show you how we connect them. This little eyepiece here gives you an overview of the data we have about the company. So it's kind of a quick view. And down here where it says related articles, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different articles that connect to the virtual assistant tool. So news pieces about the virtual assistant tool that Bank of America has called Erica. So that's how we're bringing them into the conversation. And the idea here is your users get a lot of information brought in, and then the ability to go in and filter that. So the edit button just takes us back to our list. We can come in here and add location information, where we can be as specific as a street address, or in this case, I'm going to say just make it a international region. We'll pick North America. So we have that in place. Then I'm going to come down to the next piece of unstructured data. So the conceptual search is, let me use natural language to search. Business Signal says, show me some predictive indicators. Can you show me, of that list of 257 companies, which ones are opening new facilities or their workforce is decreasing? Specifically here, I want to look at operations and say, which ones are doing product launches? And you'll see my results change. So now I'm down to 158 companies that match, again, they're North America, they're working in virtual assistant, and they've done a product launch recently. We can take a list like this. If I wanted to go even deeper and figure out who might be a good contact at one of those companies, by clicking on the link up above, I've changed it from company to people, and I'm now seeing 1/3 people that are associated with 147 companies that are doing what we're looking for. And we can take a list like this and narrow this down even more. So you see contact type. I can say what level within the company. I'm going to pick VPs and senior VPs. We can look for people by specific title. Or if I open up additional fields, I'm going to go into functional groups. So which department are we looking for? In this case, it'd be engineering and development. And I've got 1,500 people to choose from. I'm going to add one more little filter here under company type. And we'll put in international business. In other words, I'm looking for someone that's actually at IBM. So in that list of 1,500 people, I've got 157 people at IBM. I open this up, and then I've got this roster that I can choose from. And all of them, again, are working in engineering and development. We know what IBM's up to in terms of looking at virtual assistant, so we can connect through and contact those folks. In a business profile, there's a lot of rich detail, and obviously in the time we have, we're not going to be able to cover everything. But to give you an idea, you get the contact coordinates for the business, some high-level information about sales, the number of employees, there's a corporate family tree, there's a link to more detail about the industry they're in that's going to include market research reports, analyst reports, everything down the left-hand side. I'm using my hands like you can see this, right? Everything down the left-hand side are all reports and detail associated with this company. A user can come in if they're interested in IBM and create what we call a one-stop report, and that's the ability to design a report based on all that information with specifically what they're looking for. So I can take company summary, SWOT report, and if I scroll down, there's annual ratios. Put those in place, click done, and you can load this up with as much data as you want. And I'll show you what one of those looks like. Puts a title page on there. It's got a date, so you have an understanding of when you did the report. And then there's that detail for you. So the summary information, the ratios, and the SWOT reports are all there for you. So a lot of detail packed in here. You can see we link you back to more contacts. There's actually a third piece of the unstructured data we work with called triggers, which goes out and looks to see what happened with that predictive indicator. So it's sort of like the, you've got the forecast with the predictive indicators, and then what happened inside triggers, where we can loop back around and recognize information about, again, virtual assistants with IBM and news stories that relate and tie that all together. So it might seem overwhelming at this point. We've designed this to be really simple for people to approach. There is a lot of help available, whether you're contacting Mergent directly, whether you're contacting me at my email or my phone number. And there's also a link embedded here that any user can go in, and I would recommend the live chat, that's going to put you directly in contact with someone at Dun & Bradstreet who can answer search questions or any type of technical questions that you come across on things. So that's a good spot. I actually have a timer running here, so I'm about at that time. Jeff, if there's any questions that we want to cover, I'm going to throw my contact screen back up again, and I'm open now for any questions that anybody has.
Rick, I haven't seen any questions come into the chat or into the little Q&A interface, although I didn't point that out. Attendees, hopefully you have access to, there's a little place where you can type in a question, or feel free to drop any questions that you might have into the chat box if you can get that too. We don't have any just yet, although if we do have, some roll in, I'll be sure to ping you with those as well, Rick. Thank you so much for showing us that. I'm actually really impressed with that, the interface, and that's that kind of business data stuff is, I have to confess, even as a librarian, I find that kind of intimidating sometimes to dig into trying to find that information, but it looks like the interface you guys have come up with is really easy and could make that that task a lot easier.
Thank you, Jeff. And again, the idea is to make it really approachable, easy to navigate. But if you get in and you're curious on how things work, there's lots of support lines out there. And if you want to take a look at it, drop me a line, give me a call, and we can certainly go in a little more depth of what's all involved with this.